Chosen one, the divine relocation order has already been released over your life. God is moving you out of the place that trained you to survive and into the place where your abundance can finally find you. This is why the old rooms feel smaller, the old conversations feel heavier, and the old version of you no longer feels like a safe place to live. You are not hearing this by accident. A higher hand has guided you into this moment because your next season requires understanding before movement. For a long time, you may have thought the delay meant you were forgotten. But what if the blessing was not delayed because you lacked faith? What if it was waiting for the right placement? A seed can be alive and still struggle in the wrong soil. A calling can be real and still feel blocked in the wrong atmosphere. Abundance has an address, and God is changing yours. This relocation may touch your people, your work, your habits, your mindset, and the way you see yourself. But do not fear the shift. You are not being removed to be emptied. You are being moved to be found. And before you assume this only means moving to another city, changing houses, or walking away from everything familiar, listen carefully. Divine relocation begins deeper than geography. Sometimes God moves you out of an old identity before He moves you into a new room. Sometimes He moves your heart before He moves your feet. Sometimes He moves your mind out of survival before He moves your life into visible abundance. That is why this message matters. Because if you do not understand what God is doing, you may misread the movement. You may call it rejection when it is redirection. You may call it loss when it is release. You may call it silence when it is strategy. You may try to rebuild what God is dismantling because you are afraid of standing in the space between what ended and what has not arrived yet. Stay with this until the end, because by the time these words are finished, you will understand why the old place stopped fitting, why certain people and patterns no longer feel safe for your spirit, why your abundance may have felt blocked even while your faith was still alive, and what God is preparing to show you next about the place where your provision, peace, and purpose can finally meet you. This is not about panic. This is about placement. This is not about running. This is about obedience. This is not about despising where you came from. This is about recognizing when a season has completed its assignment. There was a time when the old place served a purpose. Do not curse it too quickly. Do not rewrite the entire story as if nothing good ever happened there. That place taught you things. That relationship taught you things. That job taught you things. That season of pressure, loneliness, delay, and being misunderstood formed something in you that comfort could not have formed. You learned how to endure without applause. You learned how to keep praying when the room around you did not change. You learned how to carry responsibility when nobody saw the weight. You learned how to keep your heart soft in places that could have made you bitter. But hear this clearly, chosen one. A place can be useful for one season and dangerous in the next. The place that trained you to survive may not be the place that can teach you how to receive. The room that taught you resilience may not have the capacity to honor your growth. The people who knew you in your broken season may not know how to relate to you when you begin to stand upright. The environment that once protected you may now be restricting you. That is why the old place has started to feel strange. It is not always because something is evil. Sometimes it is simply expired. Sometimes the grace that once covered a place lifts, not because God is angry, but because God is finished using that environment to form you. What used to comfort you now feels too narrow. What used to impress you now feels empty. What used to make you feel included now feels like a room where your soul has to lower its voice just to remain accepted. And deep down, you know it. You know when you are shrinking. You know when you are performing peace. You know when you are staying connected to something only because you are afraid of what life will look like without it. You know when your gift is being tolerated but not truly received. You know when your presence is being used but not honored. You know when your spirit keeps whispering, "There is more than this." This is where many chosen ones get confused. They think loyalty means staying forever. They think gratitude means never leaving. They think because God once used a place, they must build a permanent home there. But Abraham could not become the father of nations while refusing to leave the familiar land. Ruth could not step into redemption while clinging to Moab. Joseph could not reach the palace while staying attached to the pit. The pit was part of the story, but it was never the final address. The prison was part of the story, but it was never the promise. The wilderness was part of the story, but it was never the inheritance. Some of you are grieving a place that God has already finished using. And because you have a loyal heart, you keep wondering if moving on means you are ungrateful. But chosen one, leaving an old season does not dishonor what God did there. Sometimes leaving is how you honor what God did there, because the purpose of preparation is not to keep you in preparation forever. There comes a moment when God says, "You have learned what you needed to learn here. You have developed the strength. You have gained the discernment. You have seen what needed to be seen. Now let me place you where what I built in you can finally be used." And I hear this strongly in my spirit. God is not saying, "I wasted your years." He is saying, "I used your years." He is not saying, "I abandoned you there." He is saying, "I formed you there." He is not saying, "I forgot to bless you." He is saying, "I refuse to release the blessing into a place that would have swallowed it." Chosen one. There are some rooms where abundance would have become another burden. There are some circles where provision would have attracted jealousy before it produced peace. There are some environments where your increase would have been misunderstood, mishandled, or pulled back into old survival patterns. So God delayed the visible increase while He prepared the placement. That is why the discomfort has been rising. The first sign of divine relocation is often sacred dissatisfaction, not rebellion, not arrogance, not bitterness. Sacred dissatisfaction, a holy inability to keep pretending that what once fit still fits. You may notice that certain conversations drain you faster than before. You may notice that old distractions no longer carry the same taste. You may notice that the approval you once chased no longer feeds you. You may notice that you can no longer force yourself to laugh at what your spirit has outgrown. And then comes the strange middle place. You are not fully attached to the old anymore, but you are not fully settled in the new. You can feel something ending, but you cannot yet see everything beginning. You are no longer who you were, but you are still learning how to carry who you are becoming. This is the corridor season. It is the place between release and arrival. It is the place where God loosens your grip before He gives full clarity. It is the place where you learn not to run backward just because forward feels unfamiliar. The corridor season can feel lonely because the old no longer satisfies you and the new has not fully introduced itself yet. But that does not mean you are lost. It means you are being transitioned. Do not mistake the quiet for absence. Do not mistake the delay for denial. Do not mistake the shaking for destruction. Sometimes God allows the familiar to become uncomfortable because if it still felt peaceful, you would call it loyalty and stay too long. Sometimes He lets old doors stop opening easily because if they still opened, you would walk back into a room that cannot carry your future. Sometimes He allows your tolerance to change because your next assignment requires a cleaner atmosphere. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming discerning. You are not becoming cold. You are becoming consecrated. You are not becoming prideful. You are becoming honest about what your spirit can no longer carry. But there is a deeper relocation happening, and this one matters just as much as the outer movement. God is not only moving you out of the wrong place, He is moving your mind out of scarcity. Because you can leave the old room and still carry the old fear. You can enter a new opportunity and still expect disappointment. You can meet better people and still prepare to be betrayed. You can receive an open door and still stand there wondering when it will close. This is why some chosen ones feel stuck, even when God is already making a way. Their feet may be near the promise, but their inner world is still living at the old address. The old address says, "I have to fight for everything." The old address says, "Good things never last." The old address says, I must overwork to deserve rest. The old address says, if I do not control everything, everything will fall apart. The old address says, abundance is for other people, but not for me. And God is saying, I am moving you from there too. This is not only a relocation of circumstances, it is a relocation of expectation. It is a relocation of frequency. It is a relocation of the inner posture you have carried for too long. Many people pray for abundance while their mind is still trained to expect lack. They ask for peace while their inner world rehearses conflict. They ask for open doors while their nervous system keeps preparing for rejection. They say they trust God, but deep inside, they are bracing for disappointment because life trained them to survive, not receive. Chosen one, this is not a reason to shame yourself. This is a reason to understand yourself. You were not weak because survival shaped you. You were adapting. You were doing what you had to do with the tools you had in the season you were in. But the tools that helped you survive the old season cannot always help you receive the new one. A clenched spirit cannot easily receive. A fearful mind cannot easily discern. A heart that expects rejection may accidentally push away what God is sending to heal it. This is why the inner relocation must happen. There is a state where your mind is constantly running, constantly scanning, constantly preparing for loss. That state can make abundance feel far away, even when opportunity is near. It can make blessing feel unsafe. It can make rest feel irresponsible. It can make receiving feel suspicious. But there is another state, a calmer state, a clearer state, a state where your mind is not trapped in survival noise, and your spirit can hear again. A state where you are not forcing, chasing, begging, or panicking, but becoming available to what God is placing in front of you. This is the difference between living from pressure and living from alignment. And this is where the bridge between faith and the inner state becomes important. Because sometimes the issue is not that you do not believe. Sometimes the issue is that your mind has been trained by stress for so long that it keeps returning to the pattern of scarcity even when your spirit is reaching for abundance. This is why tools that support inner recalibration matter. Later, I will speak more clearly about a simple audio-based support called the wealth signal, because it is built around this same idea of moving from the stress state of survival into a calmer, alpha state of receptivity and flow. Not as magic, not as a replacement for wisdom, action, or obedience, but as one possible support for the inner relocation God is already doing. For now, just understand this. God can move your surroundings, but He also wants to move the state you keep living from, because the new place will require a new posture. You cannot carry the old panic into the new provision. You cannot carry the old self-rejection into the new room. You cannot carry the old scarcity into the place where abundance is trying to recognize you. So here is the question your spirit needs to hold gently, not with fear, not with pressure, with honesty. Does this place make your gift grow or shrink? Does this connection pull you closer to obedience or back into survival? Does this rhythm create peace or constant pressure? Does this environment help you become more truthful, more grounded, more aligned, or does it keep training you to perform, explain, defend, and shrink? This is the soil test. Every seed needs soil. Every calling needs an atmosphere. Every promise needs a place where it can be carried without being crushed. If the soil is wrong, growth becomes exhausting. If the atmosphere is wrong, even good effort feels heavy. If the connection is wrong, even your kindness can become a chain. If the rhythm is wrong, even your ambition can turn into burnout. But when God places you in the right soil, something begins to happen that striving could never produce. You stop needing to prove your value to people assigned to misunderstand you. You stop asking expired doors to validate your future. You stop confusing constant pressure with purpose. You stop calling survival normal. You stop apologizing for needing an atmosphere that does not require you to abandon yourself. This is part of the relocation order. God is moving you from soil that demanded survival into soil that can support fruit, from rooms that tolerated your light into rooms that can receive it, from patterns that rehearsed lack into patterns that make space for provision, from fear-based striving into faith-led movement. And this is only the beginning, because once you understand what God is moving you from, you must understand what He is moving you into. The new place has confirmations. It will not always look loud. It will not always look impressive at first. It may come quietly. It may begin as a new piece, a new connection, a new idea, a new opportunity, a new courage to release what you used to cling to. But there will be signs. There will be a shift in place. There will be a shift in people. There will be a shift in provision. And you must be able to recognize them, because the enemy of relocation is not always opposition. Sometimes it is familiarity. Sometimes it is guilt. Sometimes it is the old version of you trying to convince you that the cage was safer than the open door. Chosen one, do not run back just because the corridor feels quiet. Do not rebuild the old just because the new is not fully visible. Do not call yourself abandoned when God is carefully placing you. You are not being moved because you failed. You are being moved because the next version of your life requires a different atmosphere. You are not being stripped to be shamed. You are being cleared to be aligned. You are not being delayed to be denied. You are being positioned to receive what would have been too heavy in the wrong place. So let the old place complete its assignment. Let the expired connections return to God's hands. Let the old survival identity lose its authority. Let the part of you that only knew how to endure begin to learn how to receive. God is not finished with you. He is not confused about you. He is not late concerning you. He knows exactly where your abundance is assigned to meet you, and He knows exactly what had to be moved, removed, healed, released, and realigned, so that when it arrives, you will not sabotage it, fear it, or shrink away from it. The old place trained you. The corridor is refining you. The new place will reveal you. And when the next door opens, you will understand why God would not let you stay where you once begged Him to make you comfortable. Because your abundance was not lost. Your promise was not cancelled. Your future was not forgotten. It was waiting for placement. And now, God is moving you into the place where it can find you. And now, chosen one, this is where you must understand what God is moving you into. Because the new place is not just a location. It is not only a city, a house, a workplace, or a room with different walls. The new place is an alignment. It is a condition of life where your environment, your relationships, your rhythm, your decisions, and your inner state begin agreeing with what God has been building inside you. You have been asking for more, but God has been preparing where more can land. You have been asking for provision, but God has been preparing placement. You have been asking for the door, but God has been preparing the version of you who can walk through it without shrinking, panicking, or handing the key back to people who were never assigned to carry your future. This is why the next season may not look loud at first. It may not arrive with thunder. It may not come with everyone clapping. It may begin quietly. A different thought, a different peace, a different invitation, a different boundary, a different courage to stop explaining yourself to people who only understand the old you. Do not despise the quiet beginning. When God relocates a chosen one, He often begins by changing what you can no longer tolerate. Then He changes what you can finally receive. Then He changes what starts finding you. That order matters, because if abundance finds you while you are still addicted to survival, you may treat the blessing like a threat. If peace finds you while you still believe chaos is normal, you may feel guilty resting. If good people find you while you still expect betrayal, you may test them until they leave. If the right door opens while you still believe you are not worthy, you may hesitate long enough for fear to sound like wisdom. So God is not only moving things around you, He is moving things within you. And I hear this clearly for someone listening right now. Your abundance could not reach the version of you that kept shrinking to survive. It was not because God did not love you. It was not because heaven forgot your address. It was because the address had to change. The version of you that begged for crumbs could not carry overflow. The version of you that apologized for having needs could not carry divine provision. The version of you that stayed small to keep others comfortable could not carry a room prepared by God. So the relocation is mercy. God is not punishing you by moving you. He is protecting what He placed inside you from being buried in the wrong soil. And there are 3 areas where this relocation will begin to show itself. The first is your place. The second is your people. The third is your provision. And if you understand these 3 areas, you will stop fighting changes that are actually working for your future. The first area is place. Again, this may be physical, but it is not only physical. A place can be a house, but it can also be an atmosphere. A place can be a job, but it can also be a pattern. A place can be a city, but it can also be the emotional climate you keep returning to every day. God may begin moving you out of environments where your spirit is constantly bracing. He may move you away from rooms where you always feel watched but never understood. He may move you out of work that uses your strength but never honors your calling. He may move you away from routines that keep your mind trapped in pressure, even when your mouth is saying you trust Him. At first, you may feel unsettled. You may ask why the familiar no longer feels peaceful. You may wonder why the place you once prayed to get into now feels too narrow to remain in. You may feel guilty for wanting something different. You may even question whether you are being ungrateful. But chosen one, gratitude for where you have been does not require permanent residence. You can honor a place and still leave it. You can thank God for what a season taught you and still admit that the season has ended. You can bless the old room without making it your grave. The mistake is romanticizing the old place just because it is familiar. Familiar is not the same as assigned. Familiar is not the same as fruitful. Familiar is not the same as holy. Sometimes familiar is just what your fear knows how to survive. And God is not trying to make you comfortable in survival. He is trying to place you where fruit can grow. There is a place where your mind will become clearer. There is a place where your gift will not always have to defend its existence. There is a place where your effort will not feel like dragging a stone uphill every day. There is a place where peace will not feel like something you have to steal in tiny moments between pressure. That does not mean life will become effortless. It means the atmosphere will agree with obedience instead of constantly fighting it. The second area is people. This may be the hardest part for a loyal heart, because when God begins relocating a chosen one, He often changes access before He changes outcomes. Some people had access to the survival version of you, but they do not have permission to govern the abundance version of you. Some people knew how to comfort your wounds, but they do not know how to celebrate your growth. Some people were attached to your availability, not your destiny. Some people loved the version of you who needed them, but they become uncomfortable around the version of you who hears God more clearly. This is painful, but it is not always betrayal. Sometimes it is simply separation by assignment. Everyone cannot go where God is taking you, and that sentence may hurt because you may have spent years trying to make everyone understand. You tried to explain your heart. You tried to prove your intentions. You tried to remain available so nobody would think you changed in a bad way. You tried to carry relationships that kept pulling you back into a version of yourself God was healing you from. But there comes a point where access must change. Not because you hate them, not because you are better than them, not because you are becoming cold, but because your future needs protection. When a seed is being transplanted, it cannot remain tangled in every old root. If it does, the move damages the seed. The same is true for your calling. If you carry every old attachment into the new place, you may bring the old atmosphere with you. This is why God may allow certain conversations to fade. Certain invitations may stop feeling right. Certain connections may reveal what they were really built on. Certain people may misunderstand your silence because they were used to having access to your energy whenever they wanted. Do not panic when access changes. The right people for your next season will not require you to abandon your calling in order to be accepted. They will not need you to shrink so they can feel large. They will not demand that you stay wounded so they can stay important. They will not punish you for becoming whole. The people assigned to the new place will recognize the language of your future. They may not be many at first. They may not arrive all at once, but they will carry a different spirit. You will not have to over-explain everything. You will not have to perform brokenness to receive compassion. You will not have to hide your hunger for purpose. You will not have to apologize for wanting a life that is aligned, peaceful, fruitful, and free. The third area is provision. This is where many chosen ones struggle, because they want provision before movement. They want proof before obedience. They want the full map before releasing the old address. They want God to show every detail before they trust the first step. But often, provision follows placement. When Ruth left Moab, she did not see the entire story. She simply followed the path of loyalty and obedience. And the field was waiting, the favor was waiting, the connection was waiting, the redemption was waiting. But she had to move into the place where those things could meet her. When Joseph was in the pit, the palace looked impossible. When he was in prison, the promise looked delayed. But the gift inside him was not dead. It was waiting for the right environment, the right moment, the right conversation, the right placement. There are things God has prepared that cannot meet you while you are still clinging to the old field. Not because God is limited, but because placement is part of the promise. Provision may come as a new idea. It may come as a relationship. It may come as a door that opens quietly. It may come as a skill you suddenly realize is valuable. It may come as an opportunity that does not look glamorous at first, but carries the scent of peace. It may come as clarity after a long season of confusion. And when it comes, do not chase it from panic. Do not grab it from desperation. Do not turn every open door into an idol. Let peace test the door. Let wisdom examine the timing. Let obedience remain louder than urgency. Because not every opportunity is assignment. Not every increase is alignment. Not every invitation is provision. Some doors feed your ego while starving your purpose. Some rooms offer visibility while pulling you away from peace. Some connections promise access while slowly taking authority over your discernment. So you must learn to ask a deeper question. Does this door make obedience clearer? Does this opportunity require me to become false? Does this connection honor what God is building in me? Does this path carry peace beneath the pressure? This is the open door audit. You do not need to write it down. You do not need to stop what you are doing. Let the question move through you. Picture every door in front of you as having an atmosphere, not just an opportunity. Some doors are loud but empty. Some doors are impressive but heavy. Some doors are quiet but clean. Some doors do not flatter your ego, but they strengthen your obedience. Ask within yourself, which door carries peace beneath the weight? That is different from ease. Peace does not mean there will be no challenge. Peace means the challenge does not require you to betray your spirit. And this brings us to the obstacle that could delay the relocation. The greatest obstacle may not be outside of you. It may be the old survival pattern trying to follow you into the new place. You can be moved by God and still think like the person who was trapped. You can receive a new door and still expect old rejection. You can enter better soil and still keep your roots curled inward because you are afraid to trust the ground. You can see provision coming and still prepare for loss because loss is what your nervous system learned to expect. This is why some blessings feel overwhelming when they arrive. It is not because the blessing is wrong. It is because the old self is afraid of being responsible for something good. You may ask, what if I ruin it? What if I am not ready? What if success changes me? What if I receive more and people turn against me? What if I leave the old place and the new place does not hold me? Listen. That fear is not proof that you are unqualified. Sometimes fear appears because your spirit understands the weight of the next season. People who treat purpose carelessly often feel no fear because they do not understand what they are carrying. But you feel the weight because you care. You feel the seriousness because your heart knows this is sacred. Do not let fear become your leader. Let it become a signal to move with God carefully. The old survival pattern says, control everything. God says, trust me, step by step. The old survival pattern says, explain yourself to everyone. God says, protect what I am building. The old survival pattern says, run back when the new feels unfamiliar. God says, do not confuse unfamiliar with unsafe. The old survival pattern says, if it is good, it will be taken. God says, learn how to receive without fear. Chosen one, the new place requires a new posture. Not passive, not reckless, not desperate. Receptive, obedient, clear, calm enough to discern, strong enough to release, humble enough to receive. And this is where your inner state matters more than you may realize. Because many chosen ones have been praying for abundance while living inside a mind trained by pressure. They love God. They believe in purpose. They sense that more is possible. But their inner world keeps returning to scarcity, not because they are faithless, but because stress has trained the brain to keep scanning for danger. When the mind stays in constant survival, it often operates like a radio locked on a static channel. Even when a better signal is available, the static keeps interfering. You can be surrounded by opportunity and still hear fear louder than direction. You can be standing near a new door and still feel trapped in the old room. You can receive a blessing and still feel unsafe because your inner state has not learned how to rest in abundance. This is the science and spiritual bridge many people miss. There is a stressed state where the mind is tense, reactive, hurried, and locked into scarcity. And there is a calmer alpha state where clarity returns, peace becomes easier to access, and you become more available to flow, wisdom, and aligned action. This does not replace faith. It supports the vessel that carries faith. This does not replace prayer. It helps quiet the noise that often keeps people from hearing what prayer is awakening inside them. This does not replace obedience. It helps you stop moving from panic so you can act from alignment. That is why I wanted to mention the wealth signal here, gently and honestly. It is a simple digital audio track created around this alpha and beta brainwave idea. The purpose is to support a shift from stress and scarcity patterns into a calmer, abundant state, using just a few minutes of listening each day with headphones. It is not magic. It is not a promise that your life changes without wisdom, action, patience, or obedience. It is not something to worship. It is simply a tool, a support, a recalibration practice for those who feel led to explore the connection between inner state, abundance, and spiritual alignment. If this resonates with what God is already showing you, the information has been prepared for you in the link connected to this message. Look into it only if you feel peace, not pressure, not fear, not desperation, peace. And whether you use that tool or not, do not miss the deeper truth. God can move your surroundings, but you must also let Him move the state you live from. Because abundance is not only something you receive, it is something you must learn to carry. You must learn to carry peace without suspicion. You must learn to carry increase without guilt. You must learn to carry visibility without shrinking. You must learn to carry open doors without dragging old fear into every new room. So now, let this become an inner command, not a physical action, not something you need to perform, just a decision inside your spirit. I release the old address. Let that sentence settle in the deepest part of you. I release the old address, the address of fear, the address of scarcity, the address of over-explaining, the address of shrinking, the address of proving, the address of surviving in rooms that cannot carry my future. And now, imagine within your spirit that God is placing a new address into your hands, Not a street name, not a map you have to understand all at once. A divine address, a place of alignment, a place of peace, a place where your gift can grow without apology, a place where provision can meet you without being swallowed by panic, a place where you do not have to become false in order to be received. You are not forcing the door open. You are not begging the old place to bless you. You are not chasing what belongs to fear. You are allowing God to place you. And if it feels right, when this message is finished, leave a simple declaration: I receive my divine relocation. Not as a performance, not as a superstition, as agreement, as a line in the sand, as a way of telling your own spirit, I am done calling the cage my home. Because the next steps matter. Do not rush ahead of God just because you are excited. Do not stay behind just because you are afraid. Do not confuse chaos with calling. Do not confuse pressure with purpose. Do not confuse guilt with love. Do not confuse familiarity with safety. Walk with God in the pace of peace. When a door opens, do not ask only, is this bigger? Ask, is this aligned? When a person enters, do not ask only, do they like me? Ask, do they honor what God is building in me? When an opportunity appears, do not ask only, will this give me more? Ask, will this help me become more truthful, more obedient, more whole? When the old place calls for your attention, do not answer from guilt, answer from clarity. There will be moments when you miss the old place. That is normal. Even when a place was painful, familiarity can feel comforting. The mind sometimes misses what it knows, even when what it knows was limiting. But missing something does not mean you are meant to return to it. Israel missed Egypt in the wilderness, not because Egypt was freedom, but because bondage can become familiar when freedom feels uncertain. Do not let the memory of old survival convince you to reject new freedom. You are allowed to outgrow places. You are allowed to outgrow patterns. You are allowed to outgrow conversations. You are allowed to outgrow versions of yourself that only existed because you were trying to be accepted. You are allowed to protect what God is building in you. And you do not owe an apology for becoming who you were always intended to become. Chosen one, this is your identity in the relocation. You are the pioneer. You may have to step into unfamiliar territory before others understand why you moved. You may have to obey before the evidence looks complete. You may have to trust the road while the old crowd still calls your name from behind you. You are the builder. God is not only moving you for comfort, He is moving you so something can be established through you. A structure, a home, a message, a business, a ministry, a family pattern healed, a new rhythm that outlasts the chaos you came from. You are the bridge. You know what survival feels like, but you are being taught what abundance feels like. You know what it means to be overlooked, but you are being prepared to recognize others with compassion. You know what it means to be misunderstood, but you are being formed into someone who carries clarity. You are the light bearer, not because you are perfect, not because you never struggle, but because you keep choosing truth after confusion, faith after delay, softness after pain, and obedience after fear. This is why God had to move you. Not because the old place was meaningless, because the old place was complete. Not because the old people were all evil, because the access had to change. Not because you failed where you were, because you finished what that place was assigned to teach you. And now, may the old address lose its power over your imagination. May the old room lose its authority over your identity. May the old scarcity lose its voice in your decisions. May the old fear lose its seat at the table of your future. May God place you where your gift can breathe. May God place you where your mind can become clear. May God place you where provision does not have to fight through constant panic to reach you. May God place you among people who do not need you small in order to feel safe. May God place you in work that does not drain the life out of your calling. May God place you in rhythms that restore your peace. May God place you in the soil where the seed inside you can finally become fruit. And may you have the courage to stop asking expired places to approve your next season. You are not wandering. You are being placed. You are not losing everything. You are being cleared for what fits. You are not late. You are arriving in divine timing. You are not abandoned. You are being escorted. The relocation order is not against you. It is for you. It is heaven's way of saying, this one cannot stay buried. This one cannot stay hidden. This one cannot stay trapped in a place that calls survival normal. This one must be moved into alignment because there is abundance assigned to their name, and now it is time for that abundance to find them. So bless the old place, but do not move back into it. Release the old access, but do not harden your heart. Trust the new door, but do not worship the door. Receive the provision, but do not forget the one who placed you where it could meet you. And from this moment forward, when life begins rearranging, do not immediately assume something is wrong. Ask, God, are you relocating me? Are you changing my address? Are you moving me from survival into alignment? Are you placing me where what you prepared can finally reach me? Because sometimes the answer will be yes. And when the answer is yes, obey with peace. Move with wisdom. Release with grace. Receive without guilt. And remember this, chosen one. Your abundance was not lost. It was waiting for the place where you would no longer reject it, fear it, shrink from it, or hand it over to the old version of you. God is moving you from where you survived into where you belong. He is moving you from pressure into peace. He is moving you from scarcity into alignment. He is moving you from the wrong soil into the prepared field. He is moving you from hidden formation into visible fruit. He is moving you into the place where your abundance can find you. And when it finds you, you will finally understand why God would not let you stay.